All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our third lecture in the Perspective series. I keep saying this every single time, and I'm stuck in this loop, but the Perspectives lecture series is meant for us at the foundation program at CEPT to have an opportunity to come across experts from various disciplines to encounter art in its varied forms so that we go beyond the things that we do every day, so that we meet more and we have the chance to explore everything that is out there in the world to inspire us and to inspire what we do. So here we are again, and last year when we were introducing Ustad Fazal Qureshi, it was a question of the family that he comes from. It was the connections with Ustad Al-Araka, his father. It was the connections also with his brother, with the two of whom he has performed. It was also the fact that he has brought to tabla and to the performance the nuances of jazz in through his band Minta. So last year, it was a question of expectations for all of us at the foundation program, meeting this person whom we knew all about, but we had not heard live in performance. This year feels like a return. It feels like someone who has been with us along the journey. It's an added layer of meaning to the experience we have already had, but it's also newness for those of us who are here for the first time, encountering this experience for the first time. So I welcome you to this program, to the Perspectives lecture series, along with, along with Azan Qureshi, who is going to be on the keyboard, and Shishir Bhatt on the harmonium, both of whom were here with us last year. And now I will request Samir too.
Before we start with the program, I will request everyone to have a 1-minute silence for what happened in Kashmir. Yeah. Thank you. Over to you. Can you give him a mic?
Thank you. That first piece was Solfeggio by one of Bach's descendants. So the second piece that I'm going to play is a jazz piece called New Orleans Nightfall. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience, and thank you, Fazal Qureshi. A big hand for him. As you can see, he's very nervous, but he did a good job, and he just didn't have enough time for practice. But he's going to come back, and we'll play something together, and hopefully that would ease his tension a little bit. In fact, we are hoping to play a Mozart together, so you'll be for the first time here, tabla playing for Mozart. I don't think you've ever done that before, but so these are the experiments that we keep doing. We do when we are performing on the stage, and we have not rehearsed that, so let's see how it works out. I was thinking that maybe what I missed last time was to give you some idea about what the tabla is. You saw me tune with this hammer. So the instrument obviously needs to be tuned. Not this one. This is more like a bass drum. But it's the right hand which is, because it's so open and it has a tone which is so clear. So it needs to tune it to the tonic of whichever instrument I'm playing with. So right now it's tuned to D. In the Indian terminology, it's called Safed Do. So we have, when you see the harmonium, you have the black key on the top, and then you have the white ones on the bottom. So the black and the whites. The whites are basically the actual notes, and then you have the flats and the sharps, which are the blacks. But when I say safed do is actually the two from the white note. So and kali do means from the black. So you would have some idea when someone is saying कि भाई इसका tune जो है वो kali do है. So then you can look at that. So the kali ek would be, that's the kali ek, which is a C sharp according to the Western tune. बजाइए बजाइए. And then the kali do would be next to it. So that's how we look. And then this one is in safed do, which is safed do. So the C becomes the first tonic, and then you have the D, which is the second one. So that's a safed do, though I tune it to that. So I have to tune, even though it's an instrument which is a percussion instrument, I don't really have to learn anything about the music part. But this is so important in the Indian classical music, which is absolutely, well, to some extent exists in the Western, but not so much, and not so apparent as it is there in the Indian music, where all our percussion instruments are tuned actually. Whether you take dholak, which is played with the folk music, or you take the mridangam or the ghatam. Ghatam, of course, is tuned, and tabla or a pakhavaj or any other instrument, percussion instrument you take, it has to be tuned. It's part of the sort of tradition. And so everyone has to know something about the music as well as the percussion idea. So the tabla, as you can see, there are two pieces actually. And everyone wonders what that black spot is. I'm sure everyone wonders that. This black spot, it's called siyahi, which is actually the reason why it has such an open sound is because of that black spot. It's all because of it. And if you don't have that, it doesn't have any sound whatsoever. Even this one is because of the black spot. Now this is a very, it's what we call as the tabla maker has its own secret ingredient that he uses, and it differs from each tabla maker. And therefore these are the black spots. So if you see a tabla which is of a lower note, which is like even lower than that, then you'll have a thicker black spot on top. And if you have a higher note like this one, and even higher than this, then you'll have a thinner black spot so that the notes can be increased. And then you have these you see these blocks. These are for tuning. And if I want to raise the note, maybe half a note I can go up. So I can, hit it all the way to the bottom of it, and the straps get stretched. And then I can tune it half a note high or something like that. So it's a very old technology. It still exists. Nothing new has been added to even though we are in the 21st century, nothing new has been added. It's just the way it was like 100 years ago. This is the way they used to do it. And only difference is that this one used to be flour, atta on the top of this. And they used to play like an open. So this is how it used to be played in the olden days. And we still have that kind of playing existing in India, in Punjab, which is where I belong to, or rather our gharana, our style belong to, where they have this left hand, which is a baya. So baya in the tabla, where you put the flower, and then you tune, well, you don't tune it, but you just make sure that it has a resonance, and then they play with the open hand. something like this. It's more like a Pakhavat style. So you may have guessed a little bit because this instrument is come from Pakhavat. And I just give you a little history about this instrument. Is that this in the Indian classical music, we have the traditional music called the Drupad Dhamar, which you may have heard as it's not a very popular as the Khayal style of singing, but Drupad Dhamar is the traditional Indian style which existed for like 2000 years. And this style has Pakhavaj accompaniment. They have a different way of presenting themselves, and you may have seen the Pakhavaj play. So when the Persian came to India, they brought their own music and they brought their own styles and everything, and they sort of combined it with the Indian existing style, which is the Drupad Dhamar. And they put it together and created a new style called the Khayal style, which means imagination. The word itself means it's a Persian word, which means imagination. And therefore, the new style, which is what we hear right now, if you hear a composition by Pandit Bhimsen Joshi or Pandit Jasraj or any of these singers which are singing right now, they are singing the Khayal style. And this Khayal style had to have a different instrument to play with it. And therefore, tabla was created to play with the Khayal style of music. So you will only have tabla playing with the Khayal style, and you will only have the Pakhavaj playing with the Drupad style. So you will see that. As soon as you see a Pakhavaj player accompanying a singer, then you would know that he's singing Drupad Dhamar. And if you see a tabla player accompanying a singer, then you know it's a Khayal style, which is the more modern style, which is with the coming in like 200 years old, or rather 300, with the coming in of the Persian, this music was created. And which brought in the other instruments like the sitar, the sarod, and so on and so forth. So you have the tabla, and then you have all these other instruments. And sitar is basically also a Persian instrument, and existing there also as well as in India. And so is santur. Santur is also like a instrument which exists everywhere in the Middle East and also in the European, more of the Eastern European region. They have santur part of that instrument. So you have these influences in India, which has influenced the music as well as the percussion instrument. So the percussion instrument. So everything is very well organized in Indian music. Every style of music has its own percussion instrument. You will not have overlapping. So you have the Drupad Dhamar, you have the Pakhavaj, you have the Khayal, you have the tabla, you have the folk music, then you have the folk percussion instrument like the dholak, the naal, the kanjira, the other instrument that you have, and you won't have a Pakhavaj player playing with the folk, or well, tabla has this capacity and it can be used, but otherwise they have their own percussion instrument. So this is what it is about Indian music. Every style has its own style of music, has its own percussion instrument. So if you hear the Rajasthani folk, you will have a dholak guy playing with him, and you have the khartal, which is a blocks, wooden blocks, which is played, which they don't use for classical music. So you have different style, which doesn't exist in the Western music style or the Western jazz or anything. But so this is just a little background about the tabla, how it came about it, and we sort of take it for granted that tabla. But these days rather, because of a certain crossover thing happening in Indian music, like for instance, tabla is also used for some of the South Indian concerts, where the South Indian. So there was these two style of music. Again, a very important thing to remember, that we have two styles of music which doesn't exist anywhere in the world. two styles of music, the South Indian and the North Indian. Totally different from each other, total different point of view, totally different instrument, totally different percussion instrument playing for their style of music. But with the new time coming in, lots of musicians, which includes my father, Ustad Allah Rakha, and my Zakir Bhai, who have become a little my father was the first person to play with the South Indian music and South Indian percussion instrument. And then you have Zakir Bhai doing the same, playing with L. Shankar, L. Subramaniam, and all these other, which is not were the case in the earlier days. There's no actually a meeting point, even though it's in Indian classical music, even though the rags are the same, even though the rhythm cycles are the same, but the point of view is different. The point of view of their composition, our composition, the way we look at the rhythm, the way they look at it, is absolutely poles apart, actually. So that is one of the reasons why, the combination never happened till the late 60s and the early 70s, when people like my father and Zakir Bhai and other percussion instruments got some idea of what their rhythm pattern is, or rather how they look at it. It's totally different. And therefore we have things happening that the tabla would, if you see South Indian classical music happening, you have a tabla playing there, which was never the case. Or nowadays tabla is also used for folk music, for film music, for whatever else that you can think of, jazz and so on and so forth. And I'm going to play a classical piece with my son. So I think it's the beautiful what they call as the character of the instrument. The vast variety that it has in its repertoire, that it's able to adapt itself and play with the other styles of music also. So coming back to the harmonium, as is also actually a Western instrument. It's kind of derived from the piano, and it's very it was used in the olden days for all these what we call as the Natya Sangeet. The Natya Sangeet is the Indian opera style, how the Indian classical music and the Indian opera. The Western opera has, the people singing and acting, and so is the Natya Sangeet, which is more confined to the Maharashtrian style, where the actor is also singing, and he's singing classical music actually, and it's a fantastic presentation, which is also exists even these days. And there used to be a style of harmonium which is played with a pedal, which used to accompany the singers as well as the percussion instrument that is played. So, but now it has, and the pedal used to also help in kind of raise the the way that he's this particular part is actually is adding the air inside, which creates the sound. Unlike the piano, which already has the piano play, but this is kind of a derivative of that. And so the air is very important, and if he stops doing that, he can't play the instrument. So it sort of brings in the air, and that helps him to bring in the sound. The air actually helps him to create that sound. So the harmonium has become an accompaniment for all of us, for all our, so sarangi and harmonium, either of the two, accompaniment is required. Now you will wonder, why do I require an accompaniment to play a tabla solo or something? Why is it? But because in the South India, they don't use any accompaniment. They have somebody actually sitting there and giving them the taal. They don't have accompaniment like us, because we are so, our point of view is basically as I said, even I have to think about the music when I am playing the tabla. I have to tune my instrument. I have to know the composition that is being played. I have to know how it is constructed, and so on and so forth. So I have to have some idea about the music. And our music is more connected with the feeling, with the sort of expression. The expression is more important than the mathematics. So in the South Indian style, the mathematics takes over the other part. So the construction of the tabla, the pakhavach, the mridangam solo, is very mathematics oriented, is very scientific oriented, as you would I will demonstrate later. Whereas our point of view is more how to express ourselves, how to give. The mathematics takes a back seat even for a percussion instrument. It's not just a vocal instruments where the mathematics, if a vocalist is singing this long khayal that most of you may have heard, where the tabla player is giving a rhythm which is basically non-existence, if you ask me. It is a 12-beat rhythm cycle multiplied by 4, which is a 48-beat rhythm cycle, and the one comes after 48 beats. So it's actually non-existence, and what the singer does is that he remembers the last 4 beat. Now don't tell anyone this secret that I'm telling you. The singer is not actually paying attention to what the rhythm cycle is going on. He's only paying attention to the last 4 beats. And when he knows the last 4 beat is coming, and then he knows that the 1 is coming, and that's when he sings the composition and comes on the sum, and everyone is very fascinated by that. But it's 12 into 4 times, that is 48 beats. So that's how long it takes for one cycle to finish. So why is it that? Why do you have such a long rhythm cycle for a vocalist? The reason is, it's not because they are very well versed in rhythms or they are doing some fantastic combination or anything. No. It's because they have been given room to develop the rag. The expression of the rag, the expression of the notes is very important, and therefore they have to be the mood of the rag. See, the mood of the rags becomes very important, and therefore we are every raga has its mood, which is not so very apparent in the South Indian classical music. That's why we have some rags sung in the morning, some in the afternoon, some in the evening. It all depends on the mood of the rag. The rag system is constructed in that fashion. And therefore it's divided into, because the mood, the expression of the rag, the way it is presented becomes most important to the North Indian classical music. And therefore you have this rhythm cycle which is 48 beats, where you don't even know where the 1 is. You just have to wait for the tabla player to give that thing, and it comes, and they all come together at the last minute. But otherwise, nobody knows what's happening in between. So the expression becomes important, and that is what is important even in the tabla solo. All our composition has a certain expression, certain point of view, certain things that we are trying to imitate from the nature, or trying to give trying to tell a story or something like that. And the harmonium becomes giving us the melodic part, where even the harmonium player or the sarangi player gets a chance to play a little bit in between, and therefore it becomes like going in hand with the accompaniment instrument. So the lehra, that's what we call the lehra, which is what he's going to play for me. And this lehra is composed for different rhythm cycles has got different lehras. So 10 beats, 11 beats, 12 beats, 9 beats, 7 beats, lehra, 16 beats, which is the most common of them all, the rhythm cycle. And basically it is not doing nothing but giving me the rhythm, the tempo, and also the rhythm cycle. And I know where the 1 is, I know how it's constructed, where the half of the rhythm cycle is happening, how it is constructed. And the lehra is a specially composed thing. It is not something that he's going to play if he's playing by himself. He's not going to play the lehra as part of his repertoire of performing. No, this is specially constructed, specially composed only for the tabla solo, which they will not use for any other purpose. So this is what it is, because it has to have a certain movement, the way that the rhythm cycle is moving, and therefore the lehra also has to move in that fashion. It has to emphasize on the half or the khali or something, and so on and so forth. So the lehra becomes just following the rhythm cycle. And the reason why it's called a lehra means a wave, a wave that comes and goes and comes and goes on the sea. So it's again a Persian word, which means that you start from 1 and go up to 16 or 11 or 10 and then come back again to 1 and then go on and on. So it becomes like a leher. It's like the wave which comes and goes and then comes and goes. So this is what the lehra is all about. So there's a name. We just talked about Bach music, and there he is. Just joking. So it becomes a very important aspect of the Indian classical music, the music and the rhythm going hand in hand. So what we are going to do right now, I'm going to give you a little bit idea about, he's enjoying my talk, little idea about what I'm talking about, giving the rhythm on the instrument. Teen Taal, which means 16 beats, that's the name of the rhythm cycle that I'm going to play, that you hear everywhere. It's divided into 4. It's like a 4/4 rhythm cycle. It's a 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times 4 makes 16, and it is divided like that. And so his composition will also be giving me that 4/4/4 rhythm cycle. Nothing else. He just have to play that, and I have to do all the improvisation on top of that. But the 1 becomes very important. Everything ends on 1. It starts on 1 and ends on 1. Starts on 1 and ends on 1. As the lehra is going on, I have to do the same as far as my improvisation is concerned. Whatever else I am playing starts on 1, finish on 1. Starts on 1 and finish on 1. So that 1 becomes important, and I keep track of that 1 every time I'm improvising. So I will show you how it is done. Say, for instance, if you take 16-beat rhythm cycle, divided into 4 parts. As I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1. So then this is a long rhythm cycle, which is Teen Taal. But so if I just keep on going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 1. So, but the rhythm cycle is divided into 2 parts. It's called the first part, which is 1, 2. So the 16 becomes 8 and 8. Even though the division is 4, 4, 4, 4, it's 8 and 8. And 8 is the first half and 8 is the second half. But we have to show the second half. So while someone is keeping the taal, the second half is also shown by what we call as the khali, where we don't clap. Khali means empty, another Persian word, khali, which means, so you do like this. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that's where the khali comes in. That's the second part of the Teen Taal. This 9, 10, the whole 4 is empty. So 9, 10, 11, 12, back to the clap again, which becomes 13, 14, 15, 16, 1. So now he's going to construct the lehra according to this, what I have just said. And it will all have all the features of what I have just said. But there's something called a theka. Theka means the rhythm, the expression of the rhythm cycle. I mean, I have to express it by playing. So because once I play, then others would know that I'm playing Teen Taal. So it's like it's like it's like an expression. It's like a identification of the rhythm cycle. So if someone says play teen taal, then I'll play this particular theka. If someone say play 7 rupak taal, which is 7, then I'll play another theka. So the theka actually means an identification composition or the theka. So I will play that also, and it will be like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you can follow, 9, 10, 11, 12. Well, where's the 1? So when this happens, then you know it's 9. Identify. 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 13. Then there are these, then you replace the numbers with the tabla syllables, which becomes the theka. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, dha, din, din, da, din, din, da, na, din, din, da, din, din, da. So I've replaced it with the theka, what we call as a theka. Now I'm also showing the khali in that, din, din, da. So, but in that I don't have to play. So when khali comes in, I don't play the left hand, which is, very simple. So it becomes dha, din, din, dha. Then one more time, dha, din, din, dha. Then na, tin, tin. That na becomes, so the left is not played. So then you bring back the baya again on the 13th. So which means it is the clap coming back in. So you have, this is a teen taal theka. So you have other thekas, other rhythm cycles. And I then start the composition. I play various things in that. So first, but before that, I play the theka. I set the tempo. I am the one who's setting the tempo, not him. So I set the tempo. I decide on the rhythm cycle. Then I play the theka, and the tempo is set, and then I start the improvisation on top of that. So it is a process that you follow. It's like I take the backseat when I'm accompanying somebody, a sitar player or a sarod player or a flute player. Then I don't decide that. He decides what rag to play, what rhythm cycle to play, and what tempo to play in, because his composition has to be in that tempo. And I just follow him. And I have to do what he is doing for me. But then I have a bigger role to play in that than he has in this. So then I become accompaniment. Right now I am the main artist, so I decide that this is the tempo, this is the rhythm cycle. So just to give you some idea if you can keep track, once he plays the lehra, I'll give you the idea of where the one is. Now you keep track of that one. I will be improvising, I'll be going here and there, and then I'll be coming back to the one again. I'll be finishing everything on that one. The one becomes important for us. We start on one, we come back on one. We start on one, we come back on one. So just to play a short something what we call as a peshkar. Now, peshkar is again a Persian word. So there'll be a lot of these Persian words you'll be hearing in the tabla. Peshkar means to present. Pesh karna, as we say in Persian, to present. So I will be presenting a rhythm cycle. It doesn't have any rule or anything. It's just that it starts off in a slow manner. It kind of reaches a certain crescendo, and then you finish it off. So it's like you're presenting the rhythm cycle, and then others will follow up that. So he's going to play the lehra, and we'll start counting, and then you keep track of it while I improvise. Huh? And then most important thing, I forgot to mention my favorite Johnson baby powder, which is, it's a tradition. My father used to use it. Zakir Bhai is using it, and I'm also using it. My son doesn't play the tabla, so he doesn't use it. So Johnson baby powder is very important because once you play so much, you have the friction is created. After all, this is skin, and therefore you need to keep dabbing your fingers so that smoothness of the, थोड़ा हारमोनियम इधर दे. So he's going to play a little alap, just setting. So here also there is a rag involved. He's taking a rag called Kirwani, which is a South Indian rag, and he's going to improvise on that a little bit, and then he's going to start the. So it's so important that the rag has to be established also. So sometimes, and you also have a tanpura playing actually, which is why would a tanpura play in a percussion concert? Actually, you don't need a tanpura, but because music and rhythm go hand in hand in the, even for the South Indians, you'll have a tanpura playing when the percussion guy is improvising. So you have the tanpura based on the raga Kirwani, and he's going to improvise a little bit, and then he's going to start the lehra. तानपुरा इधर एक ही है क्या? अलग अलग है? हाँ, इन पर थोड़ा सा दे देना इधर, थोड़ा सा, बहुत थोड़ा, कम करो, बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया. So he started the lehra. Fifteen, 16, 1, 2, 3. So it's a little slow. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 2, 3. This is how it goes. So he's going to keep on playing this, and I will improvise on top of that. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I know the lehra, and I know where he's changing the notes. And he will, this is a tonic note. He'll come on the tonic as And when he comes back to the tonic, that's the one. Not necessarily, but in this case it is. 13, 14, 15. Just keep track of the one. Din, din. That's a theka. Dha, dha. Din, din. Dha, dha. Din, the khali. Din, dha, dha. Din, din. Dha. One. Whatever I do, I come back on one. One, two. Again, 1, 3, 4. 9, 10. always finish with a little flourish and a little bit of flashiness so that you get a claps from the audience. Not always, but... So we move on to the next, what we call as, so you keep on changing the tempo of it because then go into something which is very fixed, rather in terms of style, what we call as a qaida. Now qaida is again a Persian word which means a rule. And you follow a rule here that you take a certain composition or certain poetry and then you just stick to that. And that is what we call as, it's like writing a poetry and you first give the little theme which is on the top and then everything else is the improvisation which is down at the, follows that. So qaida is like that, you follow that. If you use a certain syllables in that phrase or in that composition, then you have to stick with that. You cannot have any other bowl or any other syllable add to it. For instance, we'll just play one. So this is a very typical qaida. The syllable that is used is called titter. It should sound like that, titter. Now I have to improvise and using only this and whatever is existing in that composition, the syllables in that. So there's da titte, da titte, da da titte, da ga tinna, da titte, da titte, da da titte, da ga tinna kena. Da titte, da titte, da da. So I just have to use this. So as you may have noticed, I raised the pace a little bit. But once I raise the pace, I cannot go back. You know, so that's one of those unspoken rules we have here. Isko thoda idhar badhana. We cannot sort of recede. We have to go forward. You know, you just have to develop yourself and keep going faster and faster. We cannot step back because that's not considered as right. It's not a rule that is written in a book or something, but it's part of being a performer. When you're performing on the stage, you need to go up in this tempo, not come back, you know. So I have raised this. Now, if I go back, then it's not considered right, but I will go back since this is more like a talk then. So This is, so I cannot go back. I'll try not to go back. But this is the way we improvise. We go faster and faster and faster. Kaida, ta te te, ta te te, ta ta te te, ta ta te. So I finish with the flourish and you clap and then we go on to the next one. So this is the movement. I play one more qaida, which is my father's favorite. me move on to the next one. This is a little more hard to play, which we call as the relas. These are the, something that you play fast. And the word again, a Persian word which means a gush, a wind blowing, or a water flowing very fast or something. And then some of these compositions are sometimes taken from the nature itself. So anything that is moving fast is called a rela. And and that can be any sort of thing that you can create. One example of so there's a story which goes, most of the musicians in the olden days were employed by the king, and so there used to be some demands by the king to create some new compositions or some new things that have come. So there is one syllable which is called the dhira dhira. So this particular they say that it has been created to actually imitate the coming of the steam engine that came into this one particular king's kingdom. And he told the musician, can you create something that would give you a bit of what this new invention is all about? And so the Ustad or the Pandit created this composition which gives you a movement of the bogies and the engine. So word, the dhira dhira, gives you the impression that there's a steam engine which is slowly moving fast, and then how the whistle will also be part of this composition. So this composition has all these ingredients of how a train is moving. The bogies, the engine, whistle. Same syllables would be used. It's like as if the way it is played, it's like as if there is rain falling. So this is like an imitation of the rain falling, how the clouds come in and how the kind of the जैसे बिजली कड़कती है ना वैसे, you know, those kind of the cracking of the lightning, whatever the lightning strikes, kind of the effect is there. So this is the rain. The thunder, thunder. Lightning. So these are the things that, you know, the composers. So there used to be this in the olden days. The fort used to have these people sitting on the top of the towers and playing this dhol as, you know, the arrival of some VIP or the, you know, the enemy coming. So they used to use the sticks to play that, and therefore the tabla player decided to imitate that by using both his hand on one tabla. To gives you the effect of how that was used. So this is what I mean, that we are not doing too much of improvisation as far as rhythm cycle is concerned, playing this, playing that. But these compositions, they add to the flavor. So we reach this other part, which is actually very interesting, more expressive than anything else. This is a composition which actually gives you an idea of how a story being told. So this is a very traditional composition of my father. So this is a composition, a traditional composition, but if you interpret it, it's almost telling a story. It's like you're calling somebody and you are asking for an address. And you're almost saying whether it's this way, that way. So it's like, do you know this address? Is it either of the three roads? So it's like a composition, or asking a story, or asking somebody. I'm going to say it and play in the last, it's actually played 3 times. There's a very old traditional composition which gives you an impression that so all the compositions are played 3 times, but this one is like you are calling people and you are actually trying to make the color. It's like holy. And then you are throwing the color at people, together with the little pipe also. So, then you have the you're checking the color. Then tada, dete, katta, kadada, katta, kadada, katta, kadada. So this is the composition. ta trigda 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 datu nakat dhage tete trigda dhage na tete dhage na datu nakat ta da trigda katta kada da trigda trigda katta kada da trigda katta kada da trigda 3 times takardar. Now we have become totally fast. We've reached 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 1. So here we have shorter composition. So this is like a composition, not a composition, but a bowl, a syllable, which is like almost imitating a running of a horse. getting a little panicky because the time was just passing and I wasn't sure how. But this is basically how you kind of create your own little imaginary sort of things where you are expressing yourself and you're creating, you are actually constructing a lot of structures, a lot of pictures, storytelling, and so on and so forth. But at this moment of time, I'd like you to maybe just participate one little thing with me, if it's possible. Everyone, you want to participate? One with me is that on the first beat, so it's like a little conversation you and I can have. This is the conversation between you and me, but we're using the syllables of the tabla, all right? So there's a very, very basic syllable called dha. A little louder. I mean, I can scream, but you can also scream dha. All right. Now you say that on the first beat, the dha. So that gives a tonic. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So the first one is the dha, and the rest, it's like you're asking me a question with a dha, and then I do the rest with answering different ways. Okay. And then we'll try and finish it on that dha in some way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Together. A little louder. 4. Taka taka da. Taka 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 da. Taka taka da. Gena da gena tin tin. Taka da da da. Taka da gena da. Taka da gena tin. Taka da da di. Taka da gena da. I am disappointed. Da 2, 3, 4. Just keep the tempo. Taka taka da. Taka 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 taka. Gena da gena tina da ti da. Taka da gena da. Taka din da gena tin. Gena da gena da. Taka da gena da gena. Taka da gena da. Taka din 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 da taka louder, I can't hear you guys. 3, 4. Actually, you guys made it. I know I'd like to invite my son back again, if you don't mind, just sparing a few minutes of... He's been waiting, and he's going to play... What key is it, Bira? I forgot to ask. Yeah, I think it chalega. Play. So he's got a composition which is a Mozart composition which is in A, and I'm going to try and play the D tabla, and that is seemed to go with it. I don't know how and why. Actually, D should not go with it, but it seemed to be. Okay, it seemed to go with it. So I'm going to try and play this Mozart thing that he's going to be playing. I'll join him and then we'll see what happens. Fazal Qureshi for you. Stay. So that's it. I mean, I could go on, but that's it. I've been given only this much time, so that's it. If you have any questions, if you want to ask him some questions. And, but I hope you enjoyed. I enjoyed very much. Thank you. You guys were great. You heard me, my talk. I don't usually speak so much on the stage, but this is something new for me, and I hope I have enlightened you a little bit of what to expect when you go and listen to a concert, a classical concert, a tabla solo concert, or any other Indian classical concert, you know, what to expect. So you get some idea what I mean. And I've given you it's like, you know, I've just scratched the surface. It's so deep, you know, the whole history, the whole, you know, the subject is so deep, you know, there's so much to do. I've just scratched the subject to give you some idea, because if I go, you know, really deep, it's, you know, gets more and more complicated. But anyway, thank you for listening to me. And if you have any questions, please do ask.
So
Yes.
it was very nice, but can you place one or two tukdas? It would be very nice if you can end with some tukdas.
I actually played a lot of tukras, but which one are you talking about? I did. You know, when we played the faster Taal, I played all the small compositions which are known as tukras, and basically there are so many different styles. In fact, I played a few which was of different style. You know, like what we call as the Sum to Sum, and something which we call as Annaghat, and then we had a Farmaishi, you know, where, so I played all that, which I didn't actually say it, but compositions, you know, so there are various styles of compositions, you know, but the one he calls tukadas, and then when we call chakardhas, and we call padans, and we got, you know, farmaishis and bedams and all different styles of it. So that gives us a variety of things to play actually when you're playing on the stage. And these compositions are very important. The reason is, I didn't forget, but I just did not touch that subject. It's called the gharana. You know, a lot of people who have a little bit about the Indian music, we have something called the gharana, which is a style of playing tabla or any other instrument. So in the percussion instrument, tabla is the only one which has gharanas. So you can imagine the depth of it. It's different gharanas. So there are about 5 or 6 styles of playing tabla, or the school of the gharana, which is like Delhi, Furukhabad, Ajrada, then you have Lucknow, then we have Banaras, then we have Punjab. And now Punjab and Banaras are the two gharanas, or the style of playing tabla, which is influenced mainly by the Pakhavaj. Because in these two cities, rather, the Pakhavaj was being played, and therefore a lot of Pakhavaj bowls or syllables are used in the tabla. And we belong to the Punjab Gharana. My father is from Punjab, and he's learned from the great Ustad from Punjab, and we follow that style. And there are many other tabla players who follow different styles, but everyone follows Zakir Hussain. So these are the different gharanas. So the compositions which I played actually gives you the indication of which gharana this tabla player belongs to when he plays these compositions, you know. So when I play a certain composition, you would know immediately, if you know anything about the tabla, that this guy, he belongs to this gharana. The composition actually gives you the idea. Any other question? Yes. You need a mic? No.
So you said about the north and south style of playing, and only difference is the point of view.
Yeah.
So what is the point of view?
Yeah, actually it's a big point of view. And it is so huge that it's going to take me a long time. But I'm not so well versed in all this. But it's just that, see, even the rags, for instance, the Skirwani rag that you have heard, which is a South Indian rag, basically. We also play, you know, the North Indian people also play, but we play in a certain time. But because it is a South Indian rag, we don't usually, we don't stick to a time. So if we want to play a rag which we don't want to stick to a time, we play a South Indian rag, actually. So so the rags which are played, they are concentrated according to the time cycle, you know. So that's one big difference of the North Indian and South Indian. And they are like the morning rags, the afternoon rags, the evening rags, and the night. And we stick to that. We don't usually play the night rag in the morning or the morning rag in the night. We don't do that. But the South Indians don't follow this time cycle, first of all. So that's a very important difference, very, very important. And the rhythm cycle, the same thing. We have the lehra playing, they don't have the lehra playing. We usually have rhythm cycles which are quite large in number. For instance, 19 beats, 21 beats, 22. Whereas the South Indians have a shorter, like they will do a khand jati, you know, the jati wise, you know, 5, 10, 5 or 7, which will be a 3.5 and all. So the cycles are usually shorter. And they don't play compositions. It's basically more corvees and more rhythmic improvisation, rhythmic formations, and so on and so forth. So the repertoire of the tabla or a mridangam is totally different, absolutely different way of presenting the repertoire. So it's a very, the difference is very much. But because of these, you know, the communication has been good, and we have played with each other a lot. So I can play with a South Indian percussionist, and I would look for a percussionist who plays a lot, like for instance, living in Bombay, who has some idea about North Indian music and North Indian percussion, and so that we can play together, and so that he can also play with the lehra. So now we do have South Indian percussionist, some mridangam player who live in Bombay, who play with the lehra with us. So there is, that barrier has been broken, but it's still, there's a lot of difference. There's a lot of sort of, as I said, a big point of view. So, you know, it's too much of difference. Anything else? Bhai, the professor is asking for... It's going to be a tough question for me to answer. Haji, kya keh rahe? Correct. Here comes the mic. Here.
Yeah, traditionally, everyone in our family is into percussions. How come your son has picked up a piano instead?
Well, you know, we consider piano also a percussion instrument, by the way. It has the hammer which hits the notes, you know. It's like the santoor. You know, when your santoor is actually more like a percussive instrument than a musical instrument, because it is hit by a stick. And so is the piano. If you look at the piano, inside you have this little, you know, hitting the... So basically piano is a percussion instrument, but it's a musical instrument. A little bit of, you know, you see that pedal there, you see that there's a pedal there actually. Right there, down there, there's a black thing, it's a pedal. Actually, in a piano, the note is not sustained. It's actually because of that pedal. So if you want to sustain the note, he presses on the pedal and hits the note, and the note gets sustained. Because the piano by itself doesn't sustain the note, because it just hits the note, and then... So you have all these gadgets, rather, to make it into a musical, long sustaining note instrument, which actually it is not. So in a way, he's playing a percussion instrument. Anything? Anybody? So if you don't mind, somebody else asking a question? Nobody? Okay. Maybe you can ask me in private. You know, some people feel shy to ask question otherwise. But thank you very much for coming. And is there a vote of thank? Okay.
All right. If you don't have questions, I have a question for us.
Okay.
Can you now see connections with a whole lot of things that we've been doing, say, over the past month or so? When you hear something like, say, style.
Yes.
Can you see connections there?
Yeah, the gharana, the style. And also I feel is that, you know, a lot depends on imagination, basically. You know, you have to imagine a structure, imagine a design, and then you put it on paper, and then you execute it. So also we imagine a composition. We imagine a composition which is like a structure for us. And then we don't put it in paper, of course. We put it on the tabla. And then we execute it, and we teach it to and therefore that structure, or rather that composition is made alive by our student, which remains forever. Like I told you, that old composition which gives you the impression there's a Holi being played. It's a very traditional composition passed on, like about at least 100 years old, passed on to my father, and my father passed on to us. So that structure of how the composition is structured and how he portrays or tells a story has remained with us, you know. So there is that imagination which you have to use. The tool is your pen and pencil and whatever, and this is our tool. You know, we kind of translate our imagination, our thought through this to you, you know. So that's what it is.
And thank you. You've just offered us yet another connection. So now think of the writing that you've been doing over the past couple of weeks, your imaginary worlds. Well, what would they sound like, right? All right, so on behalf of all of us, thank you. Thank you to the three of you for the wonderful explanations, yes.
Thank you. So this is not the end. I'll come again and come with some other thought process and maybe give you some other point of view and what this instrument is capable of doing. I know I have to do this because, you know, it's something that is a modern way of looking at things. And you may have noticed that I was using a lot of my left hand when he was playing, because the left is capable of producing notes. Like, for instance, so this is something modern. This is not very traditional stuff, you know. This is modern. So maybe I can dwell on this in the next lecture, perhaps. I don't know.
So if you want a barometer of how much we have enjoyed this entire lecture and how much we have learned from it, what I've been doing is to look at Raj and his smile throughout the performance.
Oh, that's Raj?
And
That's
yes,
Raj? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you have it right there. So thank you immensely. And
are you trying to say that Raj doesn't smile otherwise?
I'm trying to say that his smile is an expression of what all of us feel.
Okay.
He speaks for us.
Thank you, Raj, for your smile. Can you give a little more? There. Thank you.
Thank you once again, and thank you also to everyone who has helped us organize everything from the sound to the seating arrangements, to Vishwa, who has coordinated with everyone, to our foundation team, Samir, who has, you know, without whom I need not say more. Thank you to those of you who have worked.
He's because he himself is a musician himself, and he's a percussion player himself, and loves music so much that we are able to come and interact with you, because it is not possible unless the staff or the teachers are also interested in bringing all these to you and add, you know, increase your horizon and make you understand how everything is so correlated. At least art is correlated. So thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Samir Shah. Give him a very big hand for this.
And finally, those of you who've been working on the backdrop.
Yes.
Thank you.